All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackburn News, where everything is connected. What's up? How y'all doing? Good to see you. We're live on Odyssey, on Substack, and we are live on YouTube. As per our usual time. I did a live stream, a music live stream on Friday at noon. And I'm going to do another one tomorrow at noon. So if you go to my Instagram, my YouTube at kevinsandbloom, and my Patreon at kevinsandbloom, the number 1, you could watch it there tomorrow at noon. Okay. What's up? What's happening? I'm going to play this interesting clip to begin the show. I meant to play this last week. Did you hear that Obama confirmed that there were aliens, but but they were not at Area 51? I don't know. This whole like alien narrative management stuff is weird. Am I on the right? I think so. What did I just see there? Sorry. Nothing. I'm imagining things. Don't mind me. Anyways, I'm going to play this clip talking about how certain people become billionaires, but they're really propped up by pretty much the government, CIA, etc. Oracle is the company that bought TikTok. I deleted my TikTok for a moment. Just in an act of defiance. And I thought, and Oracle share price is going down the tank, down the tubes. But Oracle will never be. They won't go bankrupt because they're basically an intelligence front. They always have been. So they won't allow them to go bankrupt. They'll just, I don't know what. They'll either infuse some cash or turn them into a different company, change names, flip the script. But Larry Ellison and Oracle will probably never go down. Unfortunately. Okay. Anyways, enough of my. Let's play this. I love that. Have you guys seen this guy? I think he's more of a history professor, but he talks an awful lot about politics and he's pretty on the nose.
Bill Gates? Mark Zuckerberg? Really strange. This 19-year-old guy drops out from Harvard and founds Facebook, okay? And now he's a billionaire. How does that happen, guys? Well, it must be the American dream.
By the way, there was a CIA. So Oracle was actually a project at the CIA before it became a company, before it became a public company. There was a project called Oracle, and they're like, well, let's just make it a company. That's how a lot of these projects work. They work as, independent private companies or organizations to make it seem like they're above board. They're, it's kind of like the mafia going legit, right? We'll start a business. It'll be above the board. It'll be, it'll be kosher. Before there was Facebook, there was a project called LifeLog. And what they were going to try to do is basically track everybody, get everybody's personal information. It was the beginning of the tracking of everybody. But they were like, oh, if we just make it this fun kind of social media app, everybody will gladly go like, here's my name, here's my birth date, here's all my information, here's the ability to track me across apps. There it is.
Oh, ChatGPT, guys. Really strange. If you have a dream and you just follow it, you can become a billionaire in America. Yeah. It's all just a scam, right? Google, it's all just a scam, okay? What you need to understand about these companies is they were all founded with US military technology that is public, okay? The internet, it's a US military technology. Google, the search engines, it's all US military technology. And they're given to these guys for free. Why would they do that? Okay, again, if you think that we're ruled by secret societies, and it's really these secret societies that control the world, and they want this technology out there to better surveil people, it makes a lot more sense, right? Because if the Pentagon said, hey, with this free computer that you can use, you'd be like, I'm not gonna use this computer because you'll spy on me, right? But if Mark Zuckerberg says, hey, free Facebook, guys, you wanna use it? You're like, yeah, sure, Facebook, yeah. He's a dork from Harvard. Of course he can be trusted, right? Same strategy, okay, guys?
There you go. Just kind of breaking down something that quite a few people already know. It's President's Day. It's a holiday. I was wondering what everybody was up to today. It's a holiday for many in the U.S., but I don't know. It's just another day for me. It's raining really hard here. We got I just got a flash flood warning on my phone. All right, so let's I just wanted to show you that video. I thought it was interesting. Hope you did too. There's a bit of a heat wave going on in the Mideast, North Africa, Central Asia, Southeast Asia. It's from yesterday. Dozens of thousands of records from Morocco to Korea. Russia is at plus 24C. in many areas, it's warmer than a July day, and in the next days will be hotter. So we're this is a continuation of the trend of extreme temperatures, weather, from hot to cold to cold to hot. Things are getting wonky, and eventually the things that we expect to run normally or function normally will have a harder time functioning. I've been noticing, I talked about this like a long time ago about trees. In my area, we've slowly lost a lot of trees, to various factors. You can call it high UV rate. Could be UV, could be temperature, drought, all these factors combining together. But I noticed again, in a particular neighborhood in the city where I grew up in, there was like the vista, when you left a certain part of town, was always filled with this like canopy of trees. And I've noticed in the last few years, when I look at this scene that used to be filled with kind of trees coming over the top of all the houses, that there are a lot less trees, that there's a lot more open space, and the trees are kind of vanishing one by one. This is Trump saying that we've stopped the windmills, which, if you know, you know. Windmills are not our friends, but if you're really trying to save the climate. But I don't know, some people still are invested in this idea that we're going to green technology our way into the future. I mean, it's fun and it's cool and everything. We could probably, build technology that's a lot less offensive and destructive to the planet. But the building of the technology is destructive in and of itself. So depending on the scale, I don't know that I'm a big fan of windmills, but local windmills, hell yeah. Right? If you can get a small size backyard windmill, or a small windmill that might power or help power like your neighborhood, those would probably be a lot more effective and cool than these huge monstrous windmills that power like the grid. Those things are monster and require a lot of energy to produce and erect and keep going. But I bet there are smaller versions that are way less offensive. Kind of like, solar power. I think like you could do solar on your roof and some wind power and some solar power and have a combination of both. And if you had, some batteries, you could probably get away with powering a lot without the grid. I don't know. Anyways, this is Trump just, doing his usual.
Thank you for this. And after this much supported move to roll back the former EPA's endangerment finding, what additional steps do you plan on taking to scale back what many are calling climate industry scams? Specifically, and Secretary Zeldin knows about these wind turbines they're trying to bring to New York. Judges allowing them to be rebuilt right near your hometown in Jamaica, Queens. They're being called a national security threat for air traffic coming into the airport. What could you do to make sure these things
Well,
don't
we're trying to
destroy the
make sure it
environment?
doesn't happen, and we've basically stopped all windmills in this country. It's the most expensive energy you can get. They're all made in China,
He's
a little
also
bit in
full of
Germany,
shit
but mostly
because they haven't stopped all the windmills in this country. It's such a dumbass. I don't know. It's hard to really understand what's going on because you have so much misinformation, and then you have this clown like saying we've stopped all windmills. You haven't stopped all windmills, dude. That's just not even true. They're still cranking along. Like dumb. I don't know.
in China, and we're putting them all over our fields and ruining the fields and killing the birds and all of this. And the environmentalists say that.
Oh, now he's concerned about the environment and what damage the windmills are doing. Okay.
They like them, but they really are a tremendous eyesore. They ruined. Europe has gone, as you know, it's gone to it. Europe isn't even recognizable anymore.
Okay. What is that down there? Is it France? I can't tell. There's too many windmills in my face. What a knucklehead. Let's watch this about Bill Gates. Bill Gates doesn't donate to save the world. He invests to own it by capturing seed banks, gutting global protections, and weaponizing net zero. Land becomes collateral and life becomes property. This isn't climate action. It's enclosure updated for empire. It's a land grab, which is, anyways.
Bill Gates is not a philanthropist because he gives a little bit of money to take over entire sectors. I work on seed. The big seed banks are called the CJR system. He gives $1 million here, but he takes all the seeds of that system, the ICRISAT system. All of these seed banks of the world, he now controls by giving a tiny bit. But that's not where he stops. He then develops, promotes technologies for patenting, gene editing technologies, digital sequence technologies. So he controls the seeds of the world. He finances the Svalbard seed bank. Then he creates patent systems. And he destroys the international system that controls the country's rights to their seed, the Convention on Biological Diversity, the FAO Treaty on Seed. He destroys and undercuts them so that all the seeds of the world are his seeds. And he can be the new Monsanto on a global scale. He's the biggest farmland owner of America. He cooked up a word which I had never heard before that, called net zero. And he said we have to solve climate problems by net zero. It doesn't mean we get rid of emissions. We will he flies a private jet and has all the private jet services of the world. He says it doesn't mean we'll stop polluting. He says it just means we have to find other people's lands for offsets to absorb our pollution. So he's bought all the land in America, but he wants our land for carbon offsets. And this is the net zero they're trying to push in the climate discussions. It's a land grab.
Yep. I don't know how many times we've covered this. Millions of times. But this is one of the talking points that people use to dismiss the idea of climate change altogether, because the powerful people are doing these crazy things in the name of climate change. That means climate change is false. That is just not a great conclusion. What's up, people in the chats? How you doing? It's kind of slow today. It's kind of President's Day, and I don't know if people are boycotting President's Day or something. Maybe. No, just because the wealthy want to hoodwink you into some economic scheme because in the name of climate change doesn't mean that climate change is false. Climate change can be real. It can also be used for nefarious purposes, but I don't know. Do your own research or something, or just open your window, or just look outside. All these people are in the Epstein files, by the way, that we've been talking about. All the powerful people, they're all somewhere in the Epstein files, especially Trump. Why isn't Trump? I think I just saw something about Trump being brought up for impeachment. Hold on. Breaking news. I think they're trying to impeach him, which would be freaking something. Please, anybody, please, somebody do something to stop this circus cartoon train from going forward. But apparently they're trying to impeach him like before the midterms. I'm just seeing old stuff from the first time he was president. Where did I just see that somebody was saying, hold on, I don't know if I'm going to find it on X. The Democrats had roped some Republicans into possible impeachment proceedings. Hold on. Which would at least, I don't know if it's going to be successful, but at least would slow him down a little bit. They need to secure some Republican support. But Republicans have already, jumped ship on tariffs. They knocked down some tariffs, the tariffs that Trump had on Canada, and that was Republicans that did that. So Republicans are slowly jumping ship from the Trump agenda. That it needs to happen much faster. Jay Gibbons, our project managed a hermetically sealed climate controlled seed bank for the Nestle family. Seeds of change. When the family came by, no one would be present. They tried to stay invisible. Oh, seeds of change. That sounds sinister, doesn't it? Anything these days with one of those, hands outstretched, seeds of the world. Right. That, has like compassion and love for humanity in its name. Like run for the hills. Seeds of change. What is it? What's Ghislaine had an ocean conservancy like thing, Ghislaine Maxwell. Terramar. That name doesn't, really evoke the same kind of things that Seeds of Change does. But you know what I'm talking about. What the hell is happening here? Hello. What happened? Am I? Oh, sorry, guys. I just got really confused. I had 2 StreamYards open. I don't know why. We're live on the Substack, on the Odyssey, on the YouTube, and all the usual spaces and places. Speaking of Epstein, and we're going to go jump over to Epstein and CBDCs. Jeffrey Epstein met with Gary Gensler before Gensler became SEC chair to discuss digital currencies. How did Epstein have his fingers in literally every single pie? Every single tech pie, political pie, economic pie. Gensler went on to play a central role in drafting Biden's Executive Order 14067, which authorized the U.S. government to pursue a CBDC while taking a whole-of-government approach to cracking down on crypto through the SEC, CFTC, Treasury, IRS, and other agencies. They did do that, by the way. During the pandemic and the last days of Trump's first thing, there was kind of an open, crypto was very, much more of an open and accessible technology. And like when Biden came in, they started roping in your ability to access certain exchanges and all kinds of stuff. And they started suing, all kinds of crypto projects, all while exploring a CBDC, which is very interesting. And guess who's carrying forward, right? Because it's a duopoly, and it's not there's no opposition party or force. They work hand in hand. They make one president does something and the next president carries forward the thing that was carried forward from the last president, from the last president, from the last president. So Biden started the CBDC thing and Trump's like, thanks. Appreciate you. I'll take that. I'll take that from here. And I'm sure when the next Democrat gets in, they're going to be, what is it? Newsom just said, Gavin Newsom just struck down the idea of taxing the wealthy because he's so left. He's such a lefty. He's so for the people. Just like every time in California, every year and a half, 2 years, guess what? We're about to get Medi-Cal for all. Everybody's about to get free healthcare. And they're like, nah, we just can't do it. We live in a super majority Democratic state. Nah, we just can't get it passed. I don't know why. And now Newsom is like, nah, we're not going to tax the wealthy. Nah, we have a budget shortfall. We have missing money. We have schools closing. We have inflation. We have, homelessness and poverty on the rise. We can't tax the billionaires. That would be unfair. Then, oh my God. They have a few less $1 million in the bank. How are they going to be able to piss on us all? I mean, trickle down theory on us all. Jay Gibbons, I turned my son-in-law, a coder, onto Bitcoin 16 years ago. One coin cost 6 cents. Yeah. Do you have any Bitcoin from back then, Jay Gibbons? Do you still have any Bitcoin? I mean, shoot, could have bought Bitcoin not that long ago at like $800, $1,000, a couple $1,000. You could have bought one Bitcoin, and it would have 50x'd in the last 10 years. Let's see. So, anyways, Gensler went on to play a central role in the drafting the CBDC. At the same time, Epstein was funding the hijacking of Bitcoin and contributed to the funding of all 3 U.S. CBDC pilots through MIT and the Federal Reserve Banks of Boston and New York. The pattern is clear. Cripple Bitcoin as digital cash, fund CBDC pilots, and advise on government regulation to crush the broader crypto ecosystem. Epstein also invested early in Circle, USDC, through Brock Pierce and was involved with Tether in its early days. Pierce asked Epstein to connect him with Larry Summers, suggesting a deeper financial relationship. I suspect Epstein was an investor in Tether through Pierce, though I haven't been able to confirm that yet. Denver says things have never been better for the eugenicists. No, they haven't. They're going to take it on a greatly amplified level. You thought the Nazis when the early, and the U.S. was crazy a century ago? You haven't seen nothing yet. What's up? Kate says, I'm late. You're good, Kate. Just, whenever you can make it, We'll take it. What? This is also a good clip from Putin. Russian President Putin, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, quote, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, it seemed to us that we could quickly become members of the so-called civilized family of European nations. Today, it turns out that there is no civilization there, only complete degeneracy.
Сразу же после развала Советского Союза, а тогда нам казалось, что мы очень быстро станем членами так называемой цивилизованной семьи европейских народов, вообще цивилизованной западной семьи. Сегодня выясняется, что никакой цивилизации там нет, там только деградация. Все
Seems that way. We'll see. I mean, it could be the pot calling the kettle black. Who knows? You know, Russia is all, all up in some corrupt oligarchy run. These people are super powerful. So I think it's a little silly for Putin or other leaders of other countries to be like, you guys are bad. I'm sure you're doing all kinds of crazy, disgusting things, sir. So whatever. Russia is 100% lockstep with the rest of the. Yeah, it seems that way. I mean, it seems that way. I think they're in the Ukraine thing just to, keep the political order in place and to make some money. They've done quite well with the Ukraine war. Like, they have really banked. And I'm sure that was a deal worked out before it even started. They've banked. The U.S. has banked. It's good for profits, right? The people in control the profit margins have done very well from the Ukraine war and from all wars. Speaking of war, the Israeli army launched the thermobaric and pressure bombs supplied by the United States on Gaza. But they've already been doing this. This is not new. Denver says, look at the push to digitize currency. They were lockstep with COVID. Millions of Russians from the tech sector moved to Israel at the end of the yeah. Well, that's why, they've been saying about the Epstein, thing. They've been trying to tie Epstein to Russia. As a distraction from Epstein being tied to Israel, which is, seems a little more obvious, but I'm sure he was tied to Russia. I'm sure the U.S. wasn't the only country he was trying to manipulate. I mean, why not? Why not do them all? Anyways, this was a news report from last week. Israel used already, past tense, weapons in Gaza that made thousands of Palestinians evaporate. Al Jazeera investigation reveals how U.S. supplied thermal and thermobaric munitions burning at 3,500 C. Ooh, that's toasty. Have left no trace of nearly 3,000 Palestinians. The investigation detailed how specific chemical compositions in Israeli munitions turn human bodies into ash in seconds. Vasily Fatigarov, a Russian military expert, explained that thermobaric weapons do not just kill, they obliterate matter. And I'm sure that Russia has their own thermobaric weapons. Unlike conventional explosives, these weapons disperse a cloud of fuel that ignites to create an enormous fireball and a vacuum effect. This is kind of the concept behind the Dresden bombings, right, back in the day. And also they did to Tokyo as well. They firebombed Tokyo. which is they created a situation where like they dropped so many bombs that the heat and the vacuum of the bombs sucking all the oxygen out of it just killed like hundreds of thousands of people very quickly. It's not the same idea, but it's, I'm talking about not on a physics sense the same idea, but on a warfare sense. But basically just, dismissing with a lot of souls very quickly. But there was a vacuum effect in the Dresden and Tokyo bombings, right? They sucked all the oxygen out of the. I don't know that they, I'm sure they burned people very quickly, but did they? It's raining and effing cold in Pasadena. It is, Kate. It is. You guys don't have the side view anymore from Substack. Remember the old view through the window? If you had the side view right now, you would see not much because the window is very fogged up and full of rain. We got a flash flood warning a few minutes ago. Doesn't affect me at the moment. I'm on top of the mountain, but when I go down south, when I go down the mountain, maybe flooding. To prolong the burning time, powders of aluminum, magnesium, and titanium are added to the chemical mixture. This raises the temperature of the explosion to between 2,500 and 3,000 degrees Celsius. Dastardly. Dastardly. Could there be any more what is the reason for developing a weapon like this other than to just incinerate a bunch of people? Like, people that are thinking this up are just the most disgusting, evil, waste of fucking space. I'm sorry. There are just some people who are absolutely taking up oxygen on the planet and just need to end their stay right now. And people that develop weapons like this, those are some of the people. And I'm not ashamed to say it because I don't know, if you think I'm wrong, that's fine. I don't care. At some point we have to fight fire with fire, which is stop these lunatics from doing what they're doing, which might mean stop them from existing altogether. According to the investigation, the intense heat is often generated by tritonol, a mixture of TNT and aluminum powder. It's hard to read this because it just goes on to describe just how disgusting this idea is. Dr. Munir al-Bursh, Director General of the Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza, explained the biological impact of such extreme heat on the human body, which is composed of roughly 80% water. The boiling point of water is 100 degrees Celsius, 212 Fahrenheit. When a body is exposed to energy exceeding 3,000 degrees combined with massive pressure and oxidization, the fluids boil instantly. The tissues vaporize and turn to ash. It is chemically inevitable. I'm sure maybe there's someone out there trying to reason or logic that this is more humane. This might involve less suffering. Maybe. If you're that twisted. Oh, maybe we should just go back to the image of this because this is what we're talking about. It looks like I'm in my old studio. Yeah, only because I have my background up. You don't know where I'm at. No, I'm in the same place that I'm always at. I just, for this particular show, I like to just put Put my green screen up. I'm on top of not that big of a mountain. I'm on Kate, I'm on a mountain in the middle of LA. If you can imagine such a thing. I live in a very unique kind of place. There's like a mountain that's in the middle of LA that yeah. And so I'm up on this mountain that is kind of like remote, yet right in the yet oddly, I'm 10 minutes away from downtown LA, but it's kind of remote to get up here. But I'm at the tippy top. I know. It's weird. It sounds weird. It's true though. FBI documents claim Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad agent. Yeah. Yep. I mean, Ghislaine was a Mossad agent. Now you're confused. You know what's interesting about LA? LA is probably has more, hills and steep streets and mountains and terrain, like terrain that's all over the place than San Francisco. San Francisco is known as this, scenic, hilltop city, or a city with all these hills and whatnot. But LA has the same amount, if not more, of like these crazy lunatic streets. Like in some places in LA, it's just like, it's nuts. You'd be driving straight up a hill and then go down the other side and you're like, oh my God, am I going to die? It's quite hilly in parts of LA. If you're in particular areas. Seattle is also very hilly. Yes. It's also oddly what I love about Cincinnati. Cincinnati is built on this little hilly terrain, which I find really cool. All right. Anyways, do you guys need to hear any more about how disgusting this weapon is? I don't know. Breaking. Thomas Massey. DOJ removed key Epstein files before we could see them. Really? Tell me more. You don't say. Jumping jack flash, you've turned into gas, basically. I know, Poppy, it's ridiculous. I'm wearing a winter hat and it's 53 degrees. I know. Come on, let me enjoy my winter, okay? For crying out loud. I've waited so long for this weather to come upon us. Well, it was kind of cold when I woke up this morning. It was like in the 40s in where I live. So it was chilly. I don't know. You're probably like, yeah, get your life together. Thomas Massey reveals that the DOJ took down the most significant unredacted documents right before Congress members could ever review them. Yeah. I mean, what makes me, not surprised? I don't know. Cover up. They can't keep those documents down after they've already produced them, Massey stated, accusing the DOJ of a desperate attempt to wipe the digital trail of the most incriminating evidence. There is no longer a delay, and it's an active tampering with evidence. Well, what you going to do about that?
Sentence. And finally, I know the DOJ wants to say they're done with this document production. The problem is they've taken down documents before we were able to go over to the DOJ and look at the unredacted versions. They took down some of the most significant documents, two of them involving Virginia Giuffre's case and other things. The picture of Epstein in a room where it's got CIA written on the boxes, that's been taken down. We want to be able to look at all these files. They can't keep those documents down after they've already produced them.
Well, yeah, but how were they going to get them? You're at 68 and you're in short. Well, that's almost 70 degrees, Poppy. That's freaking summer. 70 degrees is, We can call that spring, summer. I don't know. Definitely, 68 here. People are definitely in shorts. 53 here, and people have broken out the parkas. It's like a 15-degree difference, but you can go from shorts to parkas real quick here. He is an MIT grad, which some people find suspicious. Not a lot, but there are people out there that think that Thomas Massey is also a really good actor playing a role in this whole thing, where he's the outside guy, and maybe they're going to position him for president, right? He could be one of those guys. Well, I'm on the outside. Here I am speaking the truth. I've been speaking the truth. I'm Thomas Massey. Right? Vote for me. And then you vote for him, and he went to MIT, and maybe he's in the club too. I don't know. That's one of the concepts. Argentina is falling apart. Oh, real quick, guys, before I get to the last few things I'm going to do, if you want to support the show, if you enjoy the show, if you would like to support the show, and the show needs your support, you can do so at the links in the description box on either Odyssey or YouTube. There's all the links are there: Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, etc. Buy me a coffee and whatnot. You can support at Substack. You can support at Patreon, Black Bear News. You can drop me a super chat, whatever you like to do. Although, man, they take so much of the super chats. I don't if you like half of your money being taken before it even gets to me, I don't know if that's a recommended way to do, but if that's what you want to do, all good. Anyways, any way that you'd like to support would be super appreciated. Many of you support the channel already. I appreciate you. You know who you are. Argentina is falling apart. But look at people are out there throwing rocks and getting mad, getting angry, which is, I like to say that, we don't do that. I mean, we do sometimes. Sometimes. I feel like we should do it a lot more. I know. A lot of people might be like, no, man, no way. That's not the way, bro. Well, I don't know what is the way. What is the way? You tell me. They call it a fool's spring because they think it's going to freeze again. We'll see. Well, enjoy the 70 degrees because that's nice. Denver, point taken. But here's what's happening. Argentina's Senate approved President Javier Milei's sweeping labor reform in a 42-30 vote on February 12th, advancing legislation that would fundamentally reshape the country's labor system. Listen to this craziness. The labor modernization bill would allow 12-hour workdays through hour banks, letting employers extend daily shifts and offset extra hours later with time off instead of overtime pay. What the F? That's insane. That's insane. I mean, what if they tried to do something like that here? Would you be out in the street? Would you be throwing rocks? It would also reduce severance by shifting payouts to an employer-funded labor assistance fund, restrict strikes by requiring 50 to 75% minimum services in essential sectors, meaning that they wouldn't allow you to go on strike if you worked, for the electric company or, buses or whatever, trains. In essential sectors, permit wages in foreign currency or in kind. What? And weaken sector-wide union contracts, a broad rollback of worker protections. Critics will note, no doubt. The vote came amid clashes outside Congress in Buenos Aires. With injuries and arrests reported, major unions, including the CGT, are weighing a national strike. The bill now heads to the Chamber of Deputies, where Milei will need allied support for final approval. I mean, this sounds insane. This sounds like a definite step into like last century. Permit wages in foreign currency. I mean, it sounds nuts. Restrict strikes. Basically, probably making it against the law to strike if you're doing some kind of work, a certain kind of work. Brazil was the last country to officially abolish slavery. Argentina might be the first to restart actual slavery. Well, extending your workday but not paying you for it. Whoa. Whoa. Yeah, I'd be throwing some rocks too. I'd be pissed too. I'd be like, no. 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 And then here's another one that was kind of out there. It's been out there for a couple of weeks, but I don't know that I talked about it. Apple just bought an Israeli tech firm that monitors something called silent speech. And what it is basically like trying to read your thoughts by the movements in your face, micro movements, from your phone, basically trying to detect what you're thinking. If they can't already do that yet, I know that's crazy. Why would you say that? I don't know. How do you know what they can do and what they can't do? There's probably all kinds of things out there that you have, they can see through walls. There's a lot that they can do that you probably are not aware of. It's why people put, stuff over their cameras, because the camera is constantly looking at your face. Social media apps are already doing this, looking at your face to see what kind of reaction you have to certain videos. It's happening now. You don't think it's crazy, Poppy? Yeah. Well, anyways, let's read about this. Apple just bought a sinister pre-speech tech company implicated in genocide. Tech giant Apple has quietly paid nearly $2 billion for a pre-speech tech company whose employees helped Israel commit genocide in Gaza. And Apple has paid this money, the second biggest deal in its history, for a company that doesn't have a product, doesn't have any revenues, and whose website is a single page containing 15 words. The company Q.AI is developing sensors which map the imperceptible movements of a human face to determine the words someone is thinking before they've spoken. They call it silent speech or pre-speech. And it's exactly it. If they don't already have this by now, I mean, come on. If they're talking about it, they already have it. They're already doing it. I'm sure there's you could probably dig and find a study on exactly this thing from like 10 years ago from some company who's like, we're, learning how to read your micro facial reactions in order to see what you're thinking. They've already been doing this for a long time. My bet is already happening. And this is just disclosure, right? This is just like, everybody's like, oh my God, what do we do? It's already being done. What do you do if you know that it's already being done? Then what? You got to put tape over the inside camera on my phone, maybe all of them. I actually had like a little rubber band I kept over you can buy them on Amazon or on the internet. You can buy these little slides that cover your camera. Q.AI was founded by Aviad Maisels, Avi Barlia, and Jonathan Wexler, all of whom honed their skills by testing technologies of apartheid on Palestinians. Maisels is a former commander of Unit 81, the IDF division which builds Israel's offensive cyber weapons. Barlia, according to his LinkedIn, was an intelligence officer of the Israel Air Force, while Wexler is a former Unit 8200 agent. You don't say. Apple's genocide intake. In a blog post announcing the deal, Tom Holm, an executive at Google Ventures, one of the company's early investors, Google Ventures is one of the company's early investors, revealed that 30% of Q.AI's more than 100 staff were called up to participate in the genocide of Gaza. This admission means dozens of people implicated in genocidal acts who served under the political command of Yoav Gallant, an ICC indicted war criminal, are now Apple employees. Apple has paid $2 billion for something that barely appears to exist. Bullshit. It barely appears to exist because it already does. And this is just a front. To find out exactly what the company does, you have to look beyond the press release to the patents Q.AI and its founders have filed. And these patents read like plot lines for the bleakest dystopian futures. One filing details technology capable of determining an emotional state of an individual based on facial skin micromovements. By the way, like through Wi-Fi, they can already detect where, how many people are in a room or in your house, how many people, are you close by, where you are, where you're located. I think they can detect, body data like heartbeat, body temperature already through Wi-Fi. So like, why wouldn't they already have this? I don't know. Yes. Okay, so determining an emotional state of an individual based on facial skin micromovements. The same filing says the technology could be used to identify a user based on heart rate and breathing rate. Another filing say Q.AI software synthesizes speech in response to words articulated silently by the test subject. Q.AI's technology centers around silent speech. This is the idea that before we vocalize words and move our mouths to emit sounds, our brain has already sent signals to muscles in our throat and face determining what we are going to say. Q.AI claims to have invented infrared sensors that can pick up these pre-speech micro movements. Yikes. One filing talks about a sensing device configured to fit an ear of a user with an optical sensing head which senses light reflected from the face and outputs a signal in response. Processing circuitry processes that signal to generate a speech output. What? Okay, I'm confused. Tech bloggers have suggested Apple has bought the company to enable nonverbal control of an iPhone and other devices via its AirPod earphones or smart glasses. An annotated diagram with the patent shows a person wearing glasses and an earpiece integrated with the technology. Indeed, Apple is no stranger to adopting the technologies of Israeli apartheid, and in fact, the company is extremely familiar with Mazel's himself. In 2013, Apple bought Mazel's first company, PrimeSense, a developer of 3D sensing technology. PrimeSense technology went on to become the foundation for Apple's Face ID systems on its newer iPhone and iPad models. Yay! Guys, don't use Face ID. Nonetheless, I think I just invented a word. Nonetheless, $2 billion for non-existent technology in a 3-year-old company is unprecedented. That's because, anyways, I won't say it over and over again, but why would you spend $2 billion for something that doesn't exist? That's bullshit. It just doesn't make any sense. Again, if social media apps are already gathering your reactions to videos and what it's already going on. And there's already been a lot of deep AI learning probably on your facial reactions for however long they've been deploying this. Years? I don't know. Wild stuff, wacky stuff, guys. I think I'm not going to read anymore because I think we get the point of this. The point of this is be very afraid. I don't know, or not, or Be less on your phones. I don't know. Reflect the Sun says, hello, Odysseyers. What's up, Reflect the Sun? What's up? I think it's about time to actually move on to, yeah. I've covered all the things that I wanted to cover, which makes me feel very accomplished. I said at the opening of the show, I'll say it again at the end of the show. Tomorrow, I'm going to do another music stream, probably just loops tomorrow. I don't know. Yeah, freestyling, some loops, and maybe some other things at noon. So I did a noon stream on Friday of music. So at Kevin Sandbloom at my YouTube, and at Kevin Sandbloom at my Instagram, and also at Kevin Sandbloom, the number 1 on my Patreon. I'll be doing some freestyle type music tomorrow at noon. Okay, so tune in for that, guys. Thanks for hanging out with me. Appreciate y'all. I don't know if anybody contributed anything yet today. I'm not sure. Not sure. But I will see you guys on Thursday. If I don't see you tomorrow, I'll see you on Thursday. And, we'll do it all again. Music at noon, that's what's happening. So now I think I'm going to do 2 streams. Tuesday and Fridays, I'm going to do some music streams. So I'll see you guys tomorrow at noon. And thanks so much. I appreciate you. Until next time, beware the bear.